Welcome to the final episode of Skate to the Truth. In this episode, we analyze chapters 50 to 56 of Indian Horse. We focus on Sal's time in the New Dawn Center and how reflection forces him to confront his trauma. We discuss the difference between blocking out pain and truly healing, and how Sal begins to recognize his addiction, isolation, and self-destruction. We examine the role of memory and why returning to the past is necessary for Sal's recovery. Finally, we share predictions about how confronting his trauma may allow Sal to reconnect with his identity, his culture, and the land. Right, so how do you guys feel about Sal's return to God's Lake?
I got my prediction wrong earlier on. I predicted that he would go to the Fred Kelly, and then he would go to God's Lake after.
Yeah.
But then, you can see he went to God's Lake first, then the center, then he went back to the Freds, which is, interesting in my sense.
Yeah. Also, our initial predictions that, because at first we thought Sal, speaking from the future, was a lot older, right? So we thought he was gonna die at God's Lake, but it turns out he was 33. So at least Sal's still alive. That's good.
We get his age kind of right. We said it was.
We said he was
No,
I thought it
I
said
did
late
not think
20s.
he was
Yeah,
33.
we said he
I
was
thought he was,
like 20.
28,
He was 28, like 28, 33. It's the same thing.
Yeah, basically.
Once
But
you're
at
over
the very start of
24.
the book, I thought he was like 50s or something.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I thought he was
yeah.
like 70 because
Yeah.
I thought it was like present day.
Yeah, I thought he was old. He was
Yeah.
telling his entire life story.
Yes, he's
Yeah.
at the end of his life and now
And
he's like
yeah.
kind of
And he
reflecting
sounded like
back.
really wise.
Yeah.
He did.
I thought him going to God's Lake first did make sense though, because it kind of just gave him closure to everything before moving on, which was going back to Manitouage.
Yeah.
He needed to see that vision of his family. I feel like that's just showing that they're always going to be with him. And they're showing him that, you can move on to the second family, but we're always going to be with you. It's not like you're abandoning us or
Yeah.
anything. So
I'm pretty sure last episode we did say that he was going to have another vision of the family, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was accurate.
Also, the language, he was this time, instead of tying things to nature, he was tying nature to his culture. For example, he's the moon hung in the sky like a face of a drum.
Which page is that?
206. I believe there was another passage I saw earlier.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. We can see the language changing again.
It was
yeah.
The shining face of the ring.
exactly, and there was what was it?
I guess it's just the continuation that we discussed even in the first episode of using those traits.
Honestly, from hindsight, God's Lake made a lot more sense than the Fred Kellys. Honestly,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you were still partially right. He went there after. anyways.
I'm surprised he went to the new.
He
Dawn
went back to the center, yeah.
Before going to the Kellys.
So why do you guys think he needed to go there first?
To get a full closure in a way, right? To leave everything that happened in the past and just start
Yeah.
with his new old family in a way.
Because before he wasn't really ready to talk to the people at the center. So now that he kind of had that revelation at God's Lake, he went back because now he can actually get something out of it before he returns back to the Kellys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's just the three sort of major things in his life. His childhood, then his youth with the moose, and then him being in the treatment center. So it's if he wants to return to one of them and that's his happy place, he kind of has to be at peace with the other two.
Yeah.
This is not even related, but when he, well, it's kind of related. But when he talked to the people at the center, I was there. I had this very proud feeling where I was so proud of him that he was talking. It's not even I don't even know this guy, but I was just so proud that he's talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel
Oh.
you can go.
It's in a sense where you don't know you need healing. In a sense, when he went to, for how my perspective on it is, he went to God's Lake and he saw that he's hurt and he's broken properly. Oh my God. He was hurt and broken properly, and he's oh my God, I know why I need to go back, because before when he was at the center, Omarion said, he didn't know he needed it, he wasn't ready to talk to him, but now he sees he needs a way to cope and heal and rebuild himself from like the past trauma that he's been like suppressing for like 32 years, or no, like 25 years. It's like
Yeah.
a lot.
Stole my thunder, that's what's coming up.
I also thought him reuniting with Fred and Martha was pretty heartwarming, especially Fred's reaction. He was just like, he didn't act like it was like a big deal at first. He just like accepted him in right away. What did you guys think?
Yeah, like Fred already knew what he was gonna say, because I feel like most people, they had like the unspoken truth of what probably had happened to Saul to make him the way that he was. So Fred didn't need him to say it. Fred said it for him, so it would be like less strain on Saul to say that.
Yeah.
And I feel this witch, like, he never even asked questions throughout the thing. Like, he's just letting Saul ask all the questions.
Yeah.
Like, he was, like, asking if, like, they did that to everyone else. And he was like, you don't need to be, like, sexually for it to be, like,
Yeah.
you know? And it's, like, it's kind of showing how caring of family they are and how, like, they've dealt with trauma in a sense where they know that you can't just
Oh, hey, sorry,
Ask
my
and,
glasses.
like,
I'm like
talk
so confused.
through it in a sense. You have to,
They're on my
like,
desk, but it's anytime I leave these dark rooms without my glasses, and I.
yeah, I completely forgot. So you guys would,
Yeah, but I think what maybe you were trying to say is that they just made it a safe space for him.
yeah.
And like even Martha saying like, you know, it doesn't have to be sexual to be rape. It is kind of, she's kind of connecting with his experience in a sense, and that just makes it'll make him less hesitant to share his experience.
Yeah, like it's good that the first people he talked to were also survivors. Like, I feel like that opened him up a lot to have the confidence to tell it to everyone else. Because he knows that they'll always have his back, they'll always know what he went through. They're not going to look at him any differently.
Yeah, and they also motivate him. Fred says like, that's what saved me, knowing it was my game. Like I feel like he's, you know, in a way just telling Saul like, hey, you can still build up your life. Like, you know, not everything's over wherever you've been through.
Yeah.
You can still heal from this.
Like, he's a real role model for Saul, even with the same hockey thing, and he probably experienced, like, even more racism back in his day. And, like, the exact words that Saul thinks about, like, oh, they think it's their game. Fred telling him that, like, realizing
Yeah.
it's my game, it
Yeah.
probably really helps Saul out.
I mean, despite what Saul has been through, I think in this regard he's been very lucky. Like, from St. Jerome's to end up with this like very supportive, nice
Yeah.
family, and then also have Virgil in that family.
Yeah.
Like that was very, yeah. Speaking of Virgil, what did you guys think about his,
Reaction.
reaction to Saul?
Virgil didn't go to the school himself, so he might not have like the realist understanding of its effects on people. Like, of course, he's seen his dad and everything.
I meant like as in to Saul's return, not the residential schools.
I feel as which his Saul's return is correlated to the residential schools because like Virgil, like he obviously he loves his family and seeing what they did to his family, he never really saw those consequences through Saul. Saul would never share them. Like he would be quiet and he wouldn't share much. But now since like Saul's actually sharing, he's starting to like piece together that the exact same thing his parents went through, all the hardship that they showed when he was growing up is just what Saul was going through, but without showing it.
Yeah.
And I feel like his reaction of like bursting out a bit into anger is like a way of showing how he's just annoyed at the system as well, because he doesn't have to be in it to be like affected by it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, at first Virgil was angry because he thought Saul was running away. Like, he didn't necessarily have that understanding of his experience, and it kind of connects what happens at the end of the book, where Virgil could have been there for Saul more. He could have reached out to him more, and he does get atonement for that at the end.
Yeah. Also on page 217, with the anger, it's also he feels this like deep sadness for Saul, because it says he turned to me, his cheeks were slick with tears, and then that's where he says like, you know, want to basically beat them up for what they did to you, my grandparents, my mom, and my dad.
Yeah.
So I feel like he does really feel for Saul.
And like how he, oh, sorry. And like how he was saying with like, do you want to hunt that guy down? It's showing like the difference between like a survivor and someone that hasn't fully experienced like the exact trauma like directly.
Yeah.
In the sense where Saul has been through it. He's actually like experienced all of it firsthand, and he knows from his healing that anger and like retaliation and revenge is not always the best way to heal. However, Virgil, he's experienced secondhand, and all he knows is the pain of his family. So he hasn't been able to heal from that his own trauma from home. So
Yeah.
he finds it in the more angrier sense of how he always like deals
Yeah.
with things. Do you guys feel like if Virgil like did go to a like kind of a center for his more secondhand trauma, like how do you think it would change?
Well, I mean, first of all, the fact that it wasn't Virgil experiencing these things firsthand, I feel like that makes it easier for him to just be mad. Because for Saul, it's like, it's more so hurt than just anger, right? Because Father Le Boutillier, he was like someone that he trusted and cared at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So it's like he's seen both sides with him. So it's hard to cope with the fact that someone that was so good to you, so nice to you, has that bad side. Versus Virgil, he only knows the bad sides of people. He doesn't know who they were beyond that. So it's easier for him to just be angry, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like that, in a way, is easier to, I guess, heal from, because it's like, it's not you personally experiencing those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, like the whole situation kind of connects back to St. Michael's and Connie's dad and her brother. Like how her brother, even like modern day, he was still like proud of what his dad did by beating up the priest. But towards the end of his life, you could see that Connie's dad showed a little bit of regret to it, and that like he shouldn't have done that. That wasn't the way to do things, because he was there, he actually experienced it, and Connie's brother, he wasn't there, so it's easier for him to have like the anger, as you said.
Do you guys think if Saul was to like come across Le Boutillier again, he would react the way Connie's father did?
That's a really good question.
Honestly, I don't think so. Like, just from how Saul's like spirit is, in a sense, like earlier on in the book when he was like suppressing a bit more, he wouldn't really fight for the game. I feel as though he would do the same. Like he'd be more of a, especially with how he's healing. I don't think he'd be one to like put up fists again, because I feel like his way of like expressing his like trauma at the time was anger, was fighting, and that's what led to him like leaving the NHL. But since he's kind of like he's going through this, like he's starting to heal a bit more, he doesn't have to like really fight to get his point across. He doesn't need to
Yeah.
fight to like get that revenge.
Do you think like at what point in Saul's journey would he have actually fought Le Boutillier? Like,
Oh, when
think
he was
about-
playing the NHL. When he was
Yeah.
playing the NHL, he was, I felt like that's where it broke him the most, just because he lost all motivation
Yeah.
for the game. Since he started fighting, he lost the like reason he was playing, and there's no like idea. No, like, that's like the perfect time he would have done that in a sense, because everywhere else in the book he's either more timid or he's starting to heal, and then
Yeah.
that point where you started fighting and starting to lose that like idea of the game and lose
Yeah.
that like motivation of like his way of like spewing his trauma.
Yeah.
Like that would have been the
Yeah.
time he would have done.
he would have definitely snapped. How do you think that would affect like the story onwards then?
Honestly, it's more in the sense where it's like he could have like, especially with how indigenous people were perceived at the time. I felt like he might have went to jail. Like, you know that time they were like at the bar and they were like
Yeah, yeah.
fighting and all that? I feel as which that like that time I feel they couldn't fight back, because if they did, They-
Like the police car was right there. It was
Exactly,
implied
right?
that they would all go to jail.
so the thing is like I don't think he can do anything. That's like this book is showing that everything they can do has to be like peaceful. Like they're
Yeah.
forced into this lifestyle of like peace, and I feel like hockey was Saul's way of like being able to express his anger without going to jail. Like
Yeah.
you're not gonna be sent to jail for like punching someone in hockey.
Yeah. And I feel like ultimately that's not like be angry and stuff, but I feel like the message is that you don't need to take your anger out on those who wronged you, because at the end of the day that's only going to do you more harm, right? You can just heal through your community and those around you instead.
Yeah, I feel like that's why Saul was also like really focused on playing the game fair instead of like playing it harsh with whoever like was hitting him, or like actually like playing harsh with him. So that's why I think that's why he wanted to play fair.
Yeah.
So, based off like the multi-paragraph response we did yesterday, what do you guys think of like the final page, like how it symbolizes like the themes? Like, what themes did you guys state when you were like writing it?
So I said that one of the themes was just healing, that this first game, it marks this like period of healing that's going to start with him. And then also the other paragraph I focused more on his relationship with Virgil, because I thought it was very what was the exact quote? It was like he smiled and tapped my stick with his together he said like we should have all along. So I wrote about how that shows that he's really listening to him, and he's recognizing that what happened to him should have never happened, because Saul never really wanted to go to the NHL or like progress in his career like that, right? He was kind of peer pressured into that. So I think it was healing and just like this communication that he has with Virgil.
Yeah, connecting back to that thing about him going to the minor leagues in Toronto and like how he didn't actually want to go. The discovery about Le Boutillier really gives like a new perspective on that, right? Because maybe before we thought Saul was doing it because he loves hockey and he wants to be the best at hockey, but in reality, hockey was just an escape for him. And the more he played, the less he had to think about what he went through with Le Boutillier, and that's what drove his competitiveness. So when we see in this final chapter that Virgil wins the first face-off, but Saul doesn't care, that's him like releasing that competitive spirit.
Yeah.
And that symbolizes that Le Boutillier doesn't have that grasp on him anymore. He doesn't
Yeah.
need hockey or alcohol or anything to cope anymore. He has his community.
Yeah, I think I used that quote too, like, just letting go of that negative like connotation he has with hockey, and now he can just use it only as a means of like healing.
Yeah.
I said something similar to like how he keeps coming back to hockey, even like through different forms. Like the first, it was just like an escape, but then he came as like there was like a feeling of community, and then he wanted to play with them. And it wasn't like, he wanted to play competitively, but he just wanted to play. So like there's like a true like love for the game, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
I had two themes. I had healing as well. But then my second theme was, I didn't know how to phrase it. I just said freedom in a sense, where I felt as which like the old-fashioned style of how they picked the teams in hockey was like symbolic and like a closing off statement of like how the schools would just pick people from the bush kind of at random, and it was more up to luck to be like, oh, I didn't get sent to these schools. Saul was fine. Like, he wasn't going to go to these schools until like his parents didn't come back, and from sheer luck they just saw him at the side of the road and they took him. And I felt as which that it could probably a stretch, but I felt as which that like the pushing of sticks from one side to the other is like a repeated occurrence, like the fish in like the pond. They could have grabbed any fish, but they grabbed like a certain amount of fish. They grabbed some fish, and they're like, it shows that how easy it is just to like pick, in a sense. Where I don't know how to phrase it otherwise, but I'm just saying like him being sent to the school is just by pure chance, and I feel like it's just a repeated occurrence where a lot of things where he picks something is just by pure chance, like catching certain fish, and I feel this is kind of like a closing off statement where there's no consequences to this pick.
Yeah, I guess it just shows that life is very, I guess, like irrational. So it's up to you to decide like what you want to do with it.
And also, like, maybe it's trying to show that in life, like, you really aren't that big compared to the grand scheme of things, and things can happen to you randomly, and life can come at you.
Yeah. What did you guys think about Saul not wanting to like play hockey again, but just coach?
I thought that was like, I don't know how to phrase it, but it was like I didn't expect him to play. You know, he wanted to, like, he went through something, and now he wants to mentor the kids about how, like, with his life experiences,
Yeah.
and not still be like playing the game. You know?
And also I feel like is Saul realizing, well, I think Saul has always kind of known this, but he hasn't really known. But it's that he doesn't have to play in like the NHL or these white leagues to be successful in hockey. He doesn't need them to accept him.
He doesn't need their validation.
Yeah, he doesn't need their validation. He just needs to like enjoy the game and enjoy
Yeah.
it with his community. And his whole goal isn't to compete and reach a high level in hockey. It's just to make sure that like he's fostering the same love
Yeah.
in like all these other kids, like Virgil's son, for example. So Saul, he just loves hockey. He doesn't care about the competition side of it.
I also feel like that was his like one last attempt to not fully be immersed in hockey again. You know, like he was trying to avoid it in a way, like, oh, I'm kind of back, I'll coach people, but I'm not gonna fully go back instead, because I feel like there is still like that fear or like negative
Yeah.
feeling, which is why it's so important that he has supportive people around him. Like Virgil, I'm pretty sure he like closes down the rink, so he has like private time to
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you know, get back. Like that's why it's so important to have that like support structure around you.
No, yeah, that's what I was talking about last episode too. Like, I was like, oh yeah, he would never like just go and play hockey because it would like bring out that feeling of,
Yeah.
or that experience, like those memories. It'll bring that out. So yeah, that's what I was saying last episode, that he would never play. But like him coaching is still like, oh, him playing hockey, but not in the way that he played in the NHL or like with Father Leboutillier.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
less personal.
Yeah, it's less
And it's
personal.
also kind of like, because Le Boutillier was a coach, right? So Saul's trying to make that change in the world. Like he's trying to be maybe like a balancing force of that he went through this with a really horrible coach, a horrible person. So now he wants to like bring some good to the world by being a really good coach and really good to the kids on that team.
You, like,
With-
make, oh, sorry.
yeah, no.
I was just gonna say, like, make their experiences better than his.
Yeah.
Kind of be the coach he wish he always
Yeah.
had.
Yeah.
But I forget, in the end, does he end up being the coach or what? Because I remember he's like going like back and forth between.
From like the reading, it's implied that he will go on to become a coach because
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Virgil doesn't really have the time to do it because he's also a supervisor at the
Yeah.
mines, right? And Saul's looking for a job. It seems logical that he would become a coach.
Yeah.
But do you guys think that like eventually he will start? So before we got cut off by a stampede of children, I was gonna say, do you guys think Saul would ever return to playing hockey with the Moose? Well, their new name is the Miners, right? Manitowoc
yeah.
Miners. Do you think he would return to them eventually?
Like, as a player?
Yeah, as a player.
I feel like yeah, because if he can go from not wanting to play hockey, period, and then be encouraged by his community to get on the rink and play with
Yeah.
so many other people, he can eventually get into it, you know?
Yeah, I think so too. Like, eventually he's gonna get to the
Yeah.
point where he's probably fully healed,
Yeah.
and he's gonna be able to just play with them. And
Yeah.
it is like shown that they aren't the greatest team right now. They could really use Saul's help, and
Yeah.
it would be a good way to reunite with some
Yeah.
of his old friends.
And you know, like Fred said, like talent like his doesn't go away.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like being on the rink and coaching them and like actually like getting to play with them would make him want to play competitively in the future, like playing games with them, or like doing tournaments and like putting himself out there
Yeah.
more.
You know how like you know how you guys like perceived him as like a 50-year-old at the start of the book?
Yeah.
yeah,
I feel like he's not gonna go back, just because I feel as which like his like spirit has aged. Like he feels hollowed, and he's kind of seeming more wise how we see it, right? And I feel as which he's coaching in a way of like, you know how like elders in like indigenous cultures, like they pass down knowledge. I feel as which he finds himself as like one of those. He finds himself as like aged in a way. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Where he's like, he's been through so much that people would experience through like a full lifetime that he's experienced only in like 20 years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like for that reason, like he could possibly still play hockey, but I feel as which he's gonna stick with coaching for like a really long time,
Yeah.
and maybe just do coaching, just because it's kind of like the same idea of like elders passing on knowledge, and he sees himself as like an elder in this field, where he's he's been with it like almost
Yeah.
his entire life now, and because of the trauma, he's aged. He's 30, like 33.
Yeah, it's 33.
Yeah.
But he doesn't probably think this, but like he's more giving like advice. He's more aged in like a 50, 60-year-old.
Yeah.
That's how I see it, and I feel as which he might not go to hockey for like a really long time, maybe not at all, just because he sees himself as an elder in the sport.
I feel like also what contributes to that elder status is like they're talking about how he's very much like praised in the community, like
Yeah.
he's been talked about. So it is kind of like this like old legend is like we're trying
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
you know?
I think they do call him like
Yeah.
he's a legend.
Yeah.
It did say somewhere like, oh, you're like a whole big legend.
Yeah.
All the players who
Yeah.
were like former players of the Moose tell
Mhm.
their
Yeah,
kids
yeah, yeah.
about you,
Yeah.
and everybody on the rink knows about you.
And he talks about how like the kids are like you know, more swift, and I think he does really want to just like nurture their
Yeah.
talents.
Like he's seeing that this it's kind of symbolic in a way that he's seeing that this newer generation is like a lot better at
Yes.
hockey for their ages than his generation was, and it's like showing just that progress that eventually things are going to get better as long as people keep working at them.
On the topic
Yeah.
of legend, it's kind of like his grandpa, like with like how he got his name, Indian Horse, of like him. Yeah, he's kind of like a juxtaposition, I guess. I don't know. I don't know the word. I don't know the word. Like a comparison.
Parallel.
Yeah, like in a sense where it's like his grandpa was a legend because he brought like
Yeah.
a horse. Now Saul is a legend because he brought like the spirit of hockey to the community, and he's like kind of showed more presence in a way.
Yeah.
That might be like another parallel like situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because also he does talk about how like now the town has like this expensive new rink. There's more indigenous players in the NHL. Like it's easier for indigenous children to get into these like established like usually like historically white teams. You know.
Yeah.
So I feel like, do you think that would have been possible without Saul being the first one and kind of like going through it for them?
Mm.
He was he the first one? Like, do you mean like in the area or like first one? Because I think he wasn't the first one.
Yeah, he wasn't. They talked about there was already an indigenous player in like
Yeah.
the official like big league NHL by that time when Saul was in the minor leagues.
I guess like the community, right? The first one out of
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
community.
So that was probably really inspiring for them.
You know, every time. You know, on the topic of like good news, like you were saying, what do you guys think it like symbolizes, or like what do you guys think of like when they were saying like young girls and women, ages of all types, were like playing for like the final game that he played in the book?
I think it means what it says.
Okay,
I guess it's showing that, you know, first there's this thing, it's a white game, and then there's indigenous people, and then, but it's still like a male space, and now you're getting women in it too. Like, eventually hockey's inclusive and for everyone,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, like the progress it's making.
Yeah.
Like being like a whole white people game, and then
Yeah.
like having one indigenous person. Now there's like
Yeah.
women playing it too.
Yeah. Which is so stupid. Like, remember how last time we talked about how like it's inspired by indigenous games originally?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's so weird.
Yeah.
it's like slowly reclaiming what they lost.
Yeah.
Do you guys think like what we've like now learned throughout the entire book gives us any insights on things that happened earlier on?
Like surely like one story of it. Like
Yeah.
there's probably like so many other stories and so many other concepts that we haven't heard of or like couldn't possibly even think of. But
Yeah.
like that's also something that happened to them, right? So definitely, yeah, we know more, and we know like one story in depth of like one person, like, oh, this happened to this person.
Yeah.
But like I don't feel like we know a lot. Like there's still probably a lot that we could unfold, and there's like multiple stories out there that we can still like get to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He also starts like, it might be off topic for me. He's also moves away from like some of the words he used to use in the past, like Xenagush, and like more of like those terms to classify people as, you know?
Yeah.
Because later on he just talks more about himself rather than what's around him, which could be like a byproduct of like healing in a sense. But besides that, I don't. You guys think there was any foreshadowing in a sense in this book?
Foreshadowing.
For any topic wise, like
I think we went over a good amount of it, but like the only place where they gave like no hints towards it was Le Boutillier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they really wanted us to like think that he was a good guy. Like
Yeah.
even to the point of going to say that, oh, this is when I never saw him again, and like that like we talked about in the last one, like that made us
Yeah.
feel safe with it.
But I feel like for us who like, I guess people that are like adequately like, you know,
yeah, educated.
educated on the topic and like, I mean, not, I don't know, I feel like we have some insight onto like what actually happened in residential schools because, you know, we've went through the other podcasts and we've read about it and stuff. So I think it wasn't as shocking for us. But imagine you're someone that doesn't know about this
Yeah.
and you read this and you find out about Le Boutillier. Like, I feel like that makes it, it's just so crazy.
Like there was like suspicions like I had where he takes all the boys into like his living quarters to watch hockey on the TV, and sometimes he's alone in there with Saul. Like the book doesn't say that anything bad happened in there in those chapters, but it's just like you can't shake the feeling that something happens there.
Yeah, and then you know how we were like predicting what would happen, and we all predicted like, oh, there was something gonna be wrong with this Le Boutillier character.
Yeah.
And then in the next episode, we were like, oh, we were wrong, and then we
Yeah.
were like all like, oh, we were so
Yeah.
quick to judge this guy, and I genuinely felt bad until we read that, oh, he actually did abuse him.
Yeah, I feel like if they didn't include that, oh, this is when I never saw Le Boutillier again, that our
Yeah.
foreshadowing, it would persist. Like, we would
Yeah.
still think that he does something wrong. But when, like, the author purposefully does that to drive it out of your head, like, it's pretty good writing.
Yeah.
oh my god, where was I? Oh my god, I lost the point. I was gonna say something. No, Le Boutillier, we were talking about Saul. Oh yes, so this book is in the perspective of Saul, right? And
Yeah.
I feel as which we can imagine this book as like if we were in a center with him. So as you go through, like, listen, don't give me that
I'm not
look.
listening.
As you go through the book, Saul is in the same way how he starts the book, how he ends the book. To the reader, he doesn't explain anything. You know, he doesn't explain like Le Boutillier. He doesn't even hint. Shut up. He doesn't even hint. I'm just gonna call it Gaston.
Just call him Gaston.
I'm calling it Gaston. He doesn't even hint towards like what Gaston does, right? And wait, I didn't mean to shut up in a bad way. I meant like in a joking way. Okay.
Yeah, let the record show that.
Yes. Okay. Let the like record know that. Okay. Like so, he doesn't like hint towards Gaston. He doesn't like hint towards what he went through. But as the book goes through it, it's in the same way where he has to slowly start opening up, and then we start learning about it more and more. And there's like that snapping point where he's like, he learns that he needs to be healed, and then later in the book you start seeing that he's talking about all this stuff, where it's a sense where you still have to imagine this is not like an omnipotent person. This is Saul, like writing to us. So
Yeah.
it's the same idea where it's like the author is him, and he wouldn't share that with us at the start, and it's kind of like in perspective, like obvious that he wouldn't tell us. Like obviously I didn't know, okay?
Yeah.
But if you think about it in that sense, like he wouldn't have told us that early, because we were just like random people to him.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's a really good way to write the book, especially with him. Like, you can notice when you're reading that Saul never mentions his dead family or like the people who disappeared throughout that whole time when he's playing hockey. And like as a reader, it's obvious, like you notice this, and you also know that this is his memoir. So some people could have probably predicted that it would have jumped to the future and gave some more insights on what he was thinking at that time. But like writing from Saul's perspective was a really good idea.
Also, just how the book opens. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's also a very like traditional way of greeting, right? Like saying who you are, where you come from. I feel like just acknowledgements.
Yeah. I feel like they probably made him do that in
Yeah.
the center, right?
Yeah. But I just like how he talks about, you know, he just talks about his like their even like their creation story and everything. Like he doesn't it starts off very like formal.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Skate to the Truth.
We hope you enjoyed listening to our podcast, and we hope to see you next time. Bye bye.
There is no next time.
Next time.